Super Bowl's this weekend. Are you excited?
I'm pumped. I can't get enough. I can't get enough of Super Bowl 57. I got to be honest, I wish the game was tonight.
Me too.
There's going to be, I don't know if you just said this or not, I apologize, I was over there playing ping pong. There's going to be $16 billion wagered legally from coast to coast on the Super Bowl, which is the greatest amount ever wagered legally on any sporting event in our country's history. Yeah, I'll give you an example. 3 years ago, there was more money wagered on March Madness than there was on the Super Bowl, and the entire handle, which is the total amount of money wagered on the Super Bowl legally, was about $3 billion. Wow. So in 3 years, it is now 5x of what it was in 2019.
Well, the legalizing of gambling throughout the country.
Yep, so just be careful. If you're going to be one of those guys or gals that does, you have a plan, stick to that plan. And if you lose money on Saturday, don't chase it on Sunday.
Of course, and that is the end of our mid-show headlines.
All right, so let me go to Patty Mahomes, my main man, because the quarterbacks especially are asked to talk, and a ridiculous amount every week, but obviously Super Bowl week. So I just want to give you an example of that. Here's Patrick Mahomes on Monday talking about leaving a legacy. So on Monday, it's about leaving a legacy.
Yeah,
he wants to leave a legacy.
Of course.
On Tuesday, it's not about leaving a legacy. They ask these guys to talk too much.
Way too much.
Yeah, I forgot what I said on Monday. It's just a reality.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though. And look, he's a great kid, and he's not lying to you on purpose. Different day, he probably did 10 other interviews, and he had a different answer, right?
And the question may have been asked a different way.
Yeah, sure.
Also, in and out of all these things in Super Bowl, you can't help but probably feel yourself a little bit in certain spots, so you kind of change your mindset. It's got to think that way.
Yeah, one of the other storylines for the Chiefs all year, though, has been, well, they lost Tyreek Hill. He was a security blanket for Patty Mahomes, always open, blah, blah, blah. The Chiefs can't be anywhere near as good without Tyreek Hill. And here we are back in the Super Bowl. Yeah, and listen, they didn't have just a single guy replace Tyreek Hill. And he's right, Tyreek Hill went down to Florida, and while Tua was healthy, he was putting up numbers 8 games into the season that we're going to have him on pace to set every receiving record, regular season receiving record in the history of the NFL. And obviously, as Tua went down and you had backup quarterbacks playing, his numbers obviously suffered as well. But you really do have to give Kansas City credit, I think, in a couple areas. One, Patty Mahomes, right? It's almost at the point now where it doesn't matter who's wearing a uniform. He's going to find them if they're open. So he gets a lot of credit for that. But I do think, we sometimes take for granted what Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, who's the offensive coordinator, who gets no credit at all for being the offensive coordinator because Reid calls a lot of the plays. But you really, at some point, do have to take a step back and go, it doesn't matter. He's so much better than the majority of coaches, especially with in-game decisions, that anyone that thought Kansas City was going to take a major step back because they lost a game-breaking talent like Tyreek Hill just doesn't appreciate how good Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy are.
Yeah, you're spot on with that. For me, it's more so about Andy Reid than anything.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Patrick. We know who Patrick Mahomes is. We know who
he's not doing that with Zach Wilson.
It's a three-headed monster. It's Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid is the most important part. The reason why is because those players that Patrick Mahomes alludes to about bringing in, Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, they sit down. They truly assess, okay, what do they do well? And they use them in that manner. Most coaches, most offensive system, defensive schemes, you have a scheme and you just want players to fit your scheme versus taking what they do well and put them in the scheme in that specific role.
Right.
That's what Andy Reid does. And that's why the production it didn't drop off.
Now, the only criticism, which I do think is fair against Andy Reid, I can't say Bieniemy because I think he's now a product of the Reid system, and he did it in Philadelphia, and he does it again now, in Kansas City. He does not like to run the football. No. He doesn't. Now, they use screens as a way of running the ball, and they'll do jet sweeps and all that stuff, and they'll do the quick shovel pass. But if there is a knock, they become a little bit more one-dimensional in that you don't really have to respect them from a running standpoint. They are not going to run the ball 25 times in the Super Bowl. They're not.
No, that's not who they are, but they're like extensions of the run. So, and what I mean by that is Mike McCarthy used to do it all the time. We used to throw little quick screens, little smoke screens to receivers because we felt like if we can get the ball out on the perimeter, it's a lot less likely for a guy to get tackled right away and gain more yards. You can versus turning around, handing the ball off, and having them run through, 6, 7 guys. I see my kids every single time we're watching the games. Why do they do that all the time? And I'm like, they have to. You have to keep the defense balanced and honest. But Andy Reid is like, I'm going to screen, I'm going to hand the ball off, I'm going to do whatever I can to make extensions of the run appear versus just turning around and doing it the conventional way.
And if you consider that Hassan Reddick is a problem for most offenses, that kind of offense neutralizes him.
Correct.
If he comes in, guns blazing,
right behind him,
all I got to do is dump it over him or come around him, and now he's out of the play.
Yes.
Right? That's something San Francisco did not do.
That's how you combat a great pass rush and a blitzing team.
Yeah, and speak for a moment as a wide receiver who played with other great, skill position guys. Like, can we overstate? I don't think we can. Travis Kelce. And I ask you that because I'm always fascinated. Like, there's a specific play in the NFL that is unguardable. And I don't understand why defenses don't guard it. And it's when the tight end is lined up next to the tackle. He pretends like he's going to block. It's usually 3rd and goal from the 3. And then he releases out into the flat, and he's wide open. That play has worked for 50 years. That play is always going to work. And I bring that up because Kelce's getting the ball. And yet you can't stop him from getting the ball, and I don't understand that.
Well, he does a great job even in the run game. He's not a great run-blocking tight end, but he's effective, and so you have to play it honest. You can't just automatically think that, he's in, he's just not, he's going to release immediately. No, because they do allow him to stay in and stay attached. What he does so very well, what I learned about Kyle Rudolph. He plays his strengths. He's not a super fast guy, but he is very smart. He knows how to play with leverage.
Yeah.
And anytime you have a guy that understands scheme and has savvy about him as far as understanding and IDing where I'm going to be open, he will forever be open. Forever be open. Hines Ward was able to do it, and he wasn't the fastest guy, but he was able to create separation because he understood the leverage of defenders and where he needed to be to get the ball.
It all kicks off Super Bowl Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox.
Hey there, thank you so much for watching The Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.